U.S. dealer lots are overflowing with over 3 million vehicles, the highest levels since late 2024. Some SUVs have been sitting so long they are collecting dust and racking up floor plan interest, while salespeople desperately try to move them. We are talking 82% of an entire model year still unsold, 259 days worth of inventory, vehicles that dealers literally cannot give away. Today I am breaking down the 14 SUVs that are absolute poison for dealerships in 2026, from concerning to catastrophic. And wait until you see number one. Over 82% of their 2024 inventory is still sitting there, and production just got suspended indefinitely. Number 14. Infiniti QX80. The 2024 QX80 is built on a platform from 2011, and it shows. Infiniti completely redesigned it for 2025, which sounds like good news, right? Wrong. The redesign made the previous generation instantly obsolete. Now dealers are stuck with old QX80s nobody wants, while the new ones compete in a market dominated by the Cadillac Escalade and Lincoln Navigator. Infiniti has been hemorrhaging dealerships and canceling models for years. Buyers know this. Why would anyone spend $75,000 on a dying platform from a shrinking brand? The QX80's thirsty V8 doesn't help either. With fluctuating gas prices, buyers calculate fuel costs and walk away. After 5 years, the QX80 retains only about 1/3 of its value, with half that loss happening in the first 2 years. That's financial destruction disguised as a luxury SUV. Number 13, the BMW i4. This is technically not an SUV, but BMW desperately wishes it was selling like one. The i4 has the absolute worst leftover inventory problem of any 2025 model on the market. A staggering 89.2% of its 2025 inventory is still sitting unsold on dealer lots. The industry average is 21.3%. This thing is nearly 4 times worse. Averaging $67,745, the i4 is not cheap by any means. But here is the real problem. Tesla slashed Model 3 prices so aggressively that a Tesla now costs almost the same for similar or better performance. Then, the federal electric vehicle tax credit expired in September 2025, pulling forward electric vehicle sales and leaving everything afterward in a wasteland. Dealers are now stuck with these cars, and they have no incentive to attract buyers. Number 12. Volkswagen ID.4. Volkswagen promised an affordable electric vehicle for everyone. Instead, they delivered an inventory nightmare. The ID.4 infotainment system is a buggy disaster. Slow, laggy screens, capacitive buttons that did not respond. Glitchy software updates made early owners regret their purchase. The tech issues alone killed demand. Then, Volkswagen opened its Tennessee factory and flooded the market with ID.4s. Supply massively outpaced demand. Dealers got desperate, offering huge discounts on new models that destroyed used values. When Tesla slashed Model Y prices, the game was over. A Model Y suddenly cost almost the same as a used ID.4. Leftover inventory for the ID.4 is now among the highest for any electric vehicle on the market. Porsche launched their all-electric Macan with enormous expectations. The market responded with hesitation. A whopping 67.8% of 2025 Macan electric vehicle inventory is still sitting unsold. That is the second highest leftover percentage of any 2025 vehicle. Here is the problem. With a starting price of $72,000, the Macan electric vehicle competes against Porsche's own cheaper gas-powered Macan, which they are still selling in the US. Why pay more for a battery when you can get the badge for less with a combustion engine? Then, the federal tax credit expired, and whatever momentum electric vehicle sales had completely evaporated. Porsche dealers are stuck with these vehicles, offering incentives they never dreamed of offering on a Porsche just to move metal. Number 10. Mercedes EQE SUV. Mercedes positioned the EQE SUV as their electric answer to the GLE. It became a cautionary tale in overproduction. The EQE SUV has so much leftover inventory that Mercedes actually put US sales on hold. Let that sink in. They stopped importing them because dealers could not sell what they already had. At $78,000 to start, buyers expected Mercedes luxury. They got an egg-shaped SUV with cramped rear seats and an overcomplicated tech interface. The EQE devours tires too. Owners report replacing 21-inch tires every 15,000 to 20,000 miles because the vehicle weighs 5,800 pounds at $1,200 to $1,500 per set. This terrifies used car buyers. Low-mileage examples are now trading around $35,000, despite sticker prices exceeding $80,000. That is not depreciation. That is value annihilation. Number 9. The Cadillac Lyriq. The Lyriq is one of the best-looking SUVs ever made. That is not hyperbole. It is gorgeous. But Cadillac is watching its sales tank regardless. In the first quarter, 2025, Cadillac sold just 4,300 Lyriqs, down from 8,084 in the fourth quarter, 2024. That is a drop of nearly 50% quarter over quarter. Part of the problem is Cadillac cannibalizing itself. It launched the smaller, cheaper Optique, and buyers flocked to it instead. Used Lyriqs are already trading in the $35,000 range, despite being relatively new vehicles that originally cost over $60,000. When the federal electric vehicle incentive disappeared, Cadillac had no buffer left. Dealers are offering aggressive lease deals and massive discounts, but the inventory keeps piling up. At 97 days supply, Cadillac sits right in the middle of luxury automakers. But for a flagship electric vehicle they bet their future on, that is a disaster. Genesis's first dedicated electric vehicle launched with optimism. The market responded with indifference. The GV60 leads all electric vehicles with the highest percentage of leftover 2024 inventory at 21.8%. That is more than triple the industry average. One owner documented 10 major system failures over 3 years. Every single one remains unfixed. The driver's display randomly shuts off in cold weather, leaving you with no speedometer. Here is the terrifying part: phantom emergency braking. The car will suddenly slam the brakes in the middle of intersections during turns, completely disabling itself while cross-traffic approaches. Genesis recalled every vehicle in their lineup for a similar safety defect, except the GV60. Beautiful engineering that nobody wants. Values have collapsed 50% or more in under 2 years. Number 7. Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Jeep's ultra-luxury SUV was supposed to compete with the Escalade. Instead, it became a financial sinkhole. With prices exceeding $100,000 fully loaded, the Grand Wagoneer tried to be something Jeep is not: a true luxury brand. The problem is, Escalade buyers want Cadillac Prestige. Land Rover buyers want British Heritage. Nobody was asking for a $110,000 Jeep. Stellantis dealers got desperate, offering $15,000 to $20,000 off manufacturer suggested retail price on brand new Wagoneers. When brand new models are selling at massive discounts, used values do not stand a chance. Jeep executives even admitted they messed up. They recently dropped the confusing series trims, reduced prices, and put Jeep badges back on the SUV. The 2026 Grand Wagoneer starts under $65,000 now. That tells you everything about how badly the original pricing strategy failed. Hey, before we get to the next 6 disaster SUVs, hit that like button if you're learning something. It helps the channel grow. Number 6. Lexus LX 600. Lexus does not typically struggle to sell SUVs, but the big LX 600 commands a starting price of over $100,000, and that is creating problems. A staggering 84% of the 2025 LX 600 inventory remains unsold. At that price point, buyers are looking at Land Rover vehicles, Mercedes GLS models, and BMW X7s. What is also hurting the LX 600 is the LX 700H Hybrid, which has 60% of its inventory remaining. The third row space is not as generous as you would expect in such a large vehicle either. For over $100,000, buyers expect perfection. The LX 600 is excellent, but in this market, excellent is not enough when every competitor is fighting for the same buyers. Number 5. Lexus GX 550. Here's where things get really interesting. The GX 550 holds the crown for the highest leftover 2025 SUV inventory. A staggering 87.8% of 2025 models are still sitting unsold. Let me repeat that. Nearly 9 out of 10 GX 550s from 2025 have not found buyers. The GX was completely redesigned for 2024, which should have been a selling point. But starting at nearly $65,000 and climbing well over $80,000 for loaded versions, the GX is competing in a brutal segment against the Land Rover Defender, Jeep Grand Cherokee, and Toyota's own 4Runner. The new design is polarizing too. Some love it, some hate it. Either way, Toyota clearly overestimated demand and built way too many. Number 4. Alfa Romeo Tonale. The Tonale is essentially the Dodge Hornet's Italian twin, built at the same factory and sharing almost everything underneath. But here is the kicker. The Tonale starts at $36,535, over $6,000 more than the Hornet for essentially the same vehicle. Why would anyone pay the premium? Nearly half of all 2024 Tonales, 46.8%, are still sitting unsold. Global production dropped to just 36,980 units in 2024. Alfa Romeo consistently ranks near the bottom in reliability surveys. After 3 years, Alfa Romeo vehicles retain only 37 to 39% of their original value, among the worst in the entire industry. The Tonale was supposed to save Alfa Romeo in America. Instead, it is becoming another chapter in the brand's struggle to find relevance. Number 3. Maserati Grecale. If inventory problems had a poster child, it would be the Maserati Grecale. This compact luxury SUV has a crushing 259-day supply of inventory. At current sales rates, it would take over 8 months to sell through existing stock. Sales tanked 58% between 2023 and 2024, falling from 17,242 to 7,250 units globally. For context, the Porsche Macan, its direct competitor, sold nearly 83,000 units in 2024. That's not even a competition. Here's the brutal reality. Dealers currently have 685 Grecales on the market, with only 119 sold in the past 45 days, averaging a selling price around $82,000. Some dealers are offering $20,000 or more off the manufacturer's suggested retail price just to move them, and they still cannot sell. Maserati's global sales are in free fall. The brand delivered only 11,300 vehicles in 2024, and 2025 is expected to be even worse. Number 2, Jeep Grand Cherokee. This is a big one. The Grand Cherokee was supposed to be one of America's best-selling SUVs. Instead, it has become a cautionary tale of what happens when an automaker goes all in on the wrong strategy. A staggering 70.8% of 2024 Grand Cherokee inventory remains unsold. That is nearly 3/4 of an entire model year still sitting on lots. Here is what went wrong. Jeep bet heavily on the 4xe plug-in hybrid. One forum post put it bluntly, going all in on plug-in hybrids was a mistake. You cannot tell people what they want. They will decide for themselves, and if you do not make what they want, they will find someone who does. Sales are down 26% in recent quarters. Only 12% of Grand Cherokee sales were 4xe models. Jeep paused production multiple times in 2025 to deal with inventory backlogs. Stellantis had to reduce manufacturer-suggested retail prices by approximately $4,000 to try to become competitive again. Vehicles are sitting on the lots, racking up floor plan interest. Many dealers have twice the unsold inventory they should have this time of year. Number 1, the Dodge Hornet. Here is the worst offender. The Dodge Hornet, specifically the plug-in hybrid, has the most catastrophic inventory problem in the entire automotive industry. An absolutely staggering 82.1% of 2024 Hornet inventory is still unsold. The industry average is 0.4%. The Hornet is 205 times worse than average. Let that sink in. At its peak in December 2023, the Hornet had over 500 days' worth of supply sitting at dealerships, more than a year and a half of inventory collecting dust. Sales in 2024 totaled just 20,559 units. Through the first half of 2025, sales collapsed 52% year over year to only 5,647 units. The second quarter of 2025 was even worse, down 64% with just 1,539 units sold. Now here is the death blow. Dodge suspended production of the 2026 Hornet indefinitely. The reason is import tariffs. The Hornet is built in Italy alongside the Alfa Romeo Tonale, and both face a 25% tariff that makes them financially unviable. Dodge Chief Executive Officer Matt McAleer told reporters that if the tariffs do not change, there will not be a 2026 model year. The Hornet was supposed to be Dodge's entry into the crossover market, their answer to the RAV4 and CR-V. Instead, it became one of the biggest inventory disasters in recent automotive history, with recalls for brake issues, poor sales, production suspension, and now potentially no 2026 model at all. That's a wrap. 14 SUVs that dealers simply cannot move in 2026. From the luxury failures of the Grecale and Grand Wagoneer to the electric vehicle struggles of the Lyriq and GV60 to the complete meltdown of the Dodge Hornet, automakers across the board miscalculated demand. If you are shopping for a new SUV, this is actually great news. Massive discounts are available on virtually every vehicle on this list. But if you are an owner watching your vehicle's value crater, I am genuinely sorry. Which one shocked you most? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video valuable, hit the like button. It genuinely helps the channel grow. And do not forget to subscribe so you catch our next breakdown. Thanks for watching.